Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cryptomentals. My name's Kevin. Some of you watching this already know me from some of my past streams that I've done over the years. Taking the last few months off of making any content like this, but I did start getting wild hair to do something. So just kind of launched this new project here over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. And this is the first video I'm making. It'll probably show up on YouTube here under the name Cryptomentals. And not sure where any of this is going exactly. I'm just going to start making some content and see how it goes. But I thought this first video would be wise to cover the Bitcoin halving cycle. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I do think it's a great, like, zoomed out roadmap that I've been following. And I think if you pay attention to this, it's a good way to sort of like slow yourself down, keep your eyes on the prize. And it basically frames my thesis for, the next year and a half or so, or into the rest of what I believe will be a bull market that hasn't fully gotten kicked off yet. So I'm going to just explain my thesis here. It's nothing too crazy. I'm not the only person to talk about this, but like I said, it's just nice and simple. And actually, I highly recommend anybody who's interested in charts like this, go make yourself your own Bitcoin halving chart. I'm just using this, first off, I'm on TradingView, but I got this Bitcoin halving dates countdown script that somebody made. And it makes these orange vertical lines here, which are just the past halvings. So it's kind of a cool script, nice and clean. And you can see there's been 4 of them now. And this is the Bitcoin Liquid Index, BLX. It's the name on TradingView that I've found with the most history. Goes all the way back to, July of 2010. So pretty close to the origination of Bitcoin, sort of. That's the longest chart I can find. But nonetheless, still shows everything we need to see here. So that's the BLX. You can find that. It's Brave New Coins Index. And you could see, we just recently had, well, this is a monthly chart, by the way, so we're looking at monthly candles here, and you can see a few months ago, we actually had the most recent fourth halving on April 19th. It was almost on 420. It would have been hilarious if Bitcoin was 69K and that was on 420. God, I'm surprised that didn't happen. Things seem to happen like that all the time, including the last cycle high being 69K exactly on Coinbase. But nonetheless, so you can see we had a halving recently, 3 months ago, and we're just kind of going, we'll zoom in a minute, but it's hilarious. That's why I like looking at this. And remember, this is a log chart, and it looks very bullish to me when I zoomed out like this. And we'll zoom in and talk about what I think could happen going forward. But first, of course, the past halvings don't need to play out the way, this cycle doesn't have to play out the way the past ones have. But geez, the past ones have all kind of followed a routine of sorts. And everything is looking pretty good for what I would say higher prices into the rest of this cycle top. I don't think that the cycle top's in yet. And that said, when we zoom in, Bitcoin is on, more of a medium term outlook. Is it does look a little heavy here. And I don't know if I'll have time to get into the daily chart on Bitcoin in this video, but that'll be the next one. And priority, before I get too much off topic, I do want to just stick to this halving conversation here. And again, keeping it simple. The purpose of this project I've sort of launched here, depending on how far I take it, the basic goal is just trying to capitalize on this current crypto cycle and make some money as an investor. That's sort of the main focus. And then I also just wanted to have fun and actually experiment with crypto throughout this process too. We'll get more into that later, but this halving cycle is important to that because as far as my general trading plan, the whole thesis is that I'm following this roadmap. I'm looking at the past halvings and seeing that, typically, we've entered into bull markets after the halving. The last 3 events. And I actually don't see any reason why we won't do that again. So you can see I've added these white bars just as ghost bars here. And I do think something like that's going to happen, and that's showing Bitcoin up at like 180 or something K. And I'm not trying to call big prices here. I like the 100K level as just a conservative target here into the next high, but it could easily go higher. But that's not something I want to try to predict. I just think in general we're going to have, whatever consolidation period happens in the next couple months, into the elections perhaps, and then rip into a face ripper. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen, and I'm basically framing my whole thesis off of that. So like the bet I'm making is that something like this is going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, well, I'm wrong. And I'm just going to take my lumps and walk away. And this will be the first crypto cycle that didn't do this same pattern, so that'll be a huge shift in crypto altogether. If Bitcoin, for example, maybe it takes out the lows, it's never done that. It's been making higher highs and higher lows cycle to cycle. But, what if Bitcoin broke down here and actually made this massive monthly M? That would be a huge change in crypto. So the bet is that that's not going to happen. The bet is that there's going to be some sort of bull market here, and I'm going to try to capitalize it. And to be honest, it's too late to capitalize on this from a Bitcoin standpoint, I think, unless you're a shark trader. As an investor, that wouldn't be my focus if I was a new person starting today. I think it's a little late to be buying Bitcoin up here because you are buying into the range highs, really. And just not a place where I think it's appropriate to go put on investment Bitcoin longs. However, there's going to be a whole other market of altcoins, which are, down on their knees at the moment and actually starting to put in the beginnings of a new bottom. And so the opportunities are there. So I'm watching this Bitcoin cycle chart to sort of keep me in the bull mindset. Like, I don't want to break my conviction here. My bet is that we're going to drift higher in general into next year. And maybe it takes 12, 18 months for all this to play out. Maybe it takes 2 years from now as the actual euphoric top. I don't know. And when we zoom in, you'll see that just because I'm saying price is going to drift higher doesn't mean we couldn't see some more blood here in the meantime. But just a couple things I want to point out about these past halvings anyway. One is these red boxes, just drawing the drawdowns from, this is for the future too, the drawdown from the ultimate high to the cycle low or the bottom. Going back here was 93% drawdown, but you'll see the 80 to 90%, 86% here in the 2012 cycle, 2016, 84% drawdown. And then sure enough, this chart called the bottom in Bitcoin so perfectly if you were following this methodology, by the way. In this case, we went 77,000 or 77% drawdown, 78% rounded up. So you can see 80% is a good thing to think about in the future when Bitcoin does top again and starts trending down. Whenever this euphoric top does come in here in the future, you could expect it to probably come off good 70%. And me personally, I came into Bitcoin. Well, to be honest, when I first invested in Bitcoin, I believe this is the Mt. Gox top here, and I actually bought Bitcoin at about $1,000 right here and bought the top, just like many people have done. I wasn't a trader or anything. I was just a person that heard about Bitcoin, got interested, and bought it. And then I fortunately did sort of remain interested through here. But when I became a trader, actually, funny enough, looking at this in hindsight, sort of right in these months here, the end of 2016 is when I started getting interested in trading and caught a great window here to end up. Of course, I took the school program at therationalinvestor.com and learned how to trade. And that was through here, and started banging out doubles and altcoins and enjoyed a really nice rally there. And then, of course, I also experienced the first bear market, a lot of pain there. And ultimately, the same kind of thing happened again, and we went through another bear cycle. So I've been through 2 cycles now, and this is the third cycle bottom in this area that I've experienced. And hopefully you can just see the similarities. I mean, anyway, like, but the last thing I wanted to point out is, I mean, I've drawn this up with all these timelines, and you'll see there's similarities from like the halving to the top. Here was 11 bars back here, 16 bars here, and 17 bars here. So, the first cycle is a little bit different, but, and actually that one was a little shorter. The bull market came a little faster after the halving, but in general, pretty similar, rips up to the top. So if we project that here, you can see how I've projected 17 bars. When is that? That's October of 2025. And I think that's reasonable, or maybe into later in the year even, but we could see a top back way out then. So I think that's an okay projection. But also these, you can see 19 bars, 18 bars, and 18 bars on these purple ones. And those are the bottom to the halving. And so you can see how the 18 months, we bottomed about 18 months before the halving in this current cycle. And last time that's what happened too. Bottom came in, and then 18 months later was the halving event, and the bottom was solidly in. And then back here was 19 bars. So that, this cycle played out like the previous two in that sense. And then just simple price action. I mean, I mentioned the 80% drawdowns, but you can kind of see how, pretty brutal bear markets. And then sure enough, once everybody's exhausted and all the general public's been scared off, a bottom will come in. Of course, last time was the FTX fiasco and stuff that really just solidified the peak bear or whatever, man, it was ugly then. That was a really ugly time. And of course, the previous cycle here was interesting because of COVID, and you can see that panic dip that ultimately just got bought up, and then the bull started. Very interesting time. And so I guess I'm kind of getting at here. You can kind of see around the halving prices sort of, there's just sort of sideways around it, kind of. And then sometimes there's been a dip, like, before the halving for COVID, there was that big dip. And the previous cycle, it sort of dipped into the event. But nonetheless, bull on the other side. So what does that mean for right now? Again, remember, so basically, I'm probably already just sort of rambling on too much about this, but just kind of ad-libbing this conversation. But the key points are, I'm expecting more of a bull market into the next year and a half or so. And I'm using this Bitcoin halving cycle. I'm just sort of, I know it might not be, it might not be exactly the same as the past, but I'm still using it to sort of shore up my bull thesis. I'm looking for a bull market now that we're on the other side of the halving. And that's just framing my whole outlook. So I'm not like long-term investment shorting altcoins, for example. They're like down on their knees. And I'm not short Bitcoin, like in any kind of long-term investor way. Like, I don't think selling Bitcoin right here is the best idea. At least I'm not doing that. But the question is how deep do we dip, and how deep do we dip here in the next few months to put this bottom in? That's the sort of main focus now. I mean, I've already established my bullish thesis, this sort of drift up, but I also know there could be just some panic. I don't know if there's been enough of a sell-off yet here. And zoomed in, it just looks like everything looks pretty good. Or I'm sorry, zoomed out, I should say. And you start zooming in, and, so far, a very strong looking monthly candle, actually. Did sell off here pretty strong. Now we're 2/3 into the month, and they're pushing Bitcoin higher. This is becoming a tail, and looks pretty uppy at the moment on a monthly chart. And maybe this fractals out like this. We could have another month of downy, kind of dippy, then another uppy month, and then a breakout. Sort of that would be into October, November. Maybe that happens a little later after the election. Even we bang around here a bit. But the catch here is Bitcoin actually has a structural top signal on the weekly and daily charts. So you can see the double top that's in here actually, even on the monthly. It's just that it didn't break down that hard. We have an M, and we put in that tail, which actually made the M. However, that M is being strongly bought up but it's there. I mean, the M came in, so that's the issue here. Is if maybe we wake up on the end of the end of July here, even 8 days from now, this is red again. And we dump here, and that could suggest a way deeper dip. So this is the sort of medium-term outlook here. It's like, do we keep support here, maybe fractal out and start pushing up into the election or on the other side of the election? Or do we have to dip deeper and start drawing like fibs and stuff and targeting areas lower? I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Which is why, really, we're not buying Bitcoin here. As investors, we shouldn't be buying Bitcoin here anyway. We should have been buying Bitcoin back here based on this chart telling us, 70, 80% drawdown. And, the momentum, the sentiment back here just got so ugly and started putting in, better bottoming structure on lower time frame charts, like daily and weekly at least. Here, I mean, I don't know, $70,000 Bitcoin, 69K, that's not the greatest idea, because really all we're doing is fighting with the old cycle highs here, right, at 69K. We've never really gotten strength above there yet. And in order to make this thesis, the trend, so far the trend has been up clearly since going all the way back to January 2023, making higher highs and higher lows, but we really just came right up into range highs of the last cycle. So a dangerous area to be a buyer. And so I'll add to that, the purpose of this, we're using this as the roadmap, but really it's too late to be thinking of Bitcoin investment in this cycle, in my opinion, unless we get some super deep dip. But you're going to need dips down to like, 61.8 fibs and stuff. And I'm not going to start drawing those. Instead, the purpose of this little website I'm going to build is, one of the purposes, at least on the investment side of it, is how could a new person even start like right now? Because if you're just coming to the game now, or you have some capital you want to deploy, I think there's opportunities in altcoins, and the opportunities are going to be there, and even in meme coins and stuff like that. Not so much in Bitcoin, because it is up against the highs, and that actually goes for like Ethereum and Solana too, to some extent. And I want to talk about those too, but I think this video will get too long right now. So again, I'm just trying to set the framework for this little website and the content I'm going to make here going forward. So thesis is bullish, but the question is, in the medium term, how deep do we dip? And that's left to be determined. But I'm going to basically be following this as my roadmap. And of course, if it fails, this will be the first time that this pattern's been broken. So I'm not saying it has to happen like this, but it has in the past. And then if it doesn't, and we break down here and Bitcoin goes to zero or whatever, obviously that's a extremely massive shift in the state of crypto altogether. Like that'll be a change in macro trend going back the whole life of Bitcoin. So wow, man, that'll be an interesting time all in itself. But that's the bet. I'm betting that won't happen, and I think that's a pretty good bet. I mean, I think the bet that, the probability of going higher into the future seems a lot higher than breaking this structure. So I think this is the bottom here. The 18 for now, I think down here was the cycle bottom, and so I'm expecting, that to not get broken. And if it does, then I'm wrong. Actually, that'll be the end of my of this cycle. It'll be a miss. Now, the hilarious part is you can still make money. I'm sure there's going to be money to be made, even if that's the case. And I don't need a parabolic bull to make money either. So, point being, though, is be mostly focused on altcoins here, because that's, as a new person coming in, if like you started today, that's the only thing you can really look at. And the reality is the altcoins, most of them are down on their knees and actually starting to put in early signs of bottoms. Like no real bottoms yet, but like they're just basically blood in the streets at this point. And they're looking a little better as of this week, even, to be honest. But I think now's the buying opportunity. That, like, if you're watching any of my streams from all of 2023 and into like the first half of this year at Crypto Traders Arena, those Sunday streams, go back and watch those, and you'll see that this has all just been kind of playing out. We last time I was streaming, it was, well, we had like the run up, earlier in the later part of last year and early part of this year, a lot of doubles and stuff. And then now we've had to go through quite some time of just sort of kind of really bearish altcoin price action. And here's this next buyer opportunity that I was talking about back then that we've been waiting for. That's starting right now. And you could argue already, I've been taking stink bids and lots of nibbles on things the last month or two. And I'm going to make more videos about that too. But this, I'm just trying to wrap up this idea of my framework here. And the point of this too, I mean, just, I could be wrong. Sure. It might not play out exactly like this, but this gives me a reason to not lose my conviction. That's probably the key point. And so this is going to sort of frame all the content that I put on this blog, I guess I'm building. I don't know. And I want to keep that, because like when we do, like if Bitcoin does truly M out here, well, it already has really M'd out here. And I guess I could pull up that on I don't know if maybe I'll just end this video and then I'll make another Bitcoin video here next so I can keep these shorter. But point being is if this really dips deeper, it's going to get kind of ugly again. Hell, remember how ugly it was just a couple weeks ago? I laugh out like when the last like sort of a short-term bottom came in, everything, when the M actually came in and then got bought up. But when that M was coming in and like Bitcoin's daily chart was below the 200 MA and stuff like that, and people were getting ugly fast, like Twitter just went to hell. Everybody is fighting and just so quickly bearish. And then all of a sudden it just like bounces. And then everybody's talking about like 100,000 Bitcoin again, like overnight. It's just hilarious. I don't want to be that way. So that's why I'm using this. This is my zoomed out framework so that I don't have to get caught up in those short-term moves that might shake me out of my positions. And so, if Bitcoin dips here, it's not like I'm going to panic sell Bitcoin at lower levels here because I think the cycle's over. Yeah, there's an M, so we might have to do a pretty nasty process of pulling back and re-Wing out and all that stuff. It could be way lower than we are now. That's definitely a possibility, but I've crafted my investment plan in a way where I'm not actually that doesn't change anything for me. I'm still looking for this higher move. And I'm following a risk management plan that works for me. So if this all goes to hell on me, then, well, it's going to suck, but I'm not going to, I'm trying to protect myself here through risk management. And that's the game. So, so that's kind of it for this talk. And I think my next couple videos, I'm going to get into look at Bitcoin, and then I'd like to look at Ethereum and Solana, and actually look at the daily charts on those and just kind of show again how those, we're in this situation here where we have like the majors, if you want to call them that, Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, all the top 10, probably market cap, but some of those names, they're actually in nosebleedy levels, not really buyable levels as investors. I'm not talking about trading here. And so those are kind of like Bitcoin that has the structural top like we talked about. And then the everything else is like down on its knees and trying to turn. And then of course there's some really strong memes and stuff. But I'll probably kind of work my way into all those things. And then I think the overall goal for now here, again, Cryptomentals, I had this domain name, cryptomentals.com. So I just thought I'd roll with that for right now. I'm just going to make some content and see how it goes, and just sort of pick up with just kind of keeping my own head straight so I can stay in the game, try to identify some good trades going forward, mostly in altcoin land, and ultimately try to pick this new bottom that's coming in. There's probably going to be a bottom here coming up, and I want to make sure I'm fully active through that. So that's going to be one part of this, which is just an extension of what I've always done. So if you've listened to me before, it's nothing new here. Actually, everything's just shockingly playing out exactly the same, which is funny. So I'm just going to roll with that. And then as far as this blog, though, here, I don't know how much work I'm going to get done here, but I'm just going to kind of make some things, see how it goes. You can follow me on Twitter and YouTube and stuff when I get that all worked out. This will be on YouTube. So appreciate likes and subscribes and all that. And I'll just kind of see where it goes. But that's it for today. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.